crazy what I'm about to say.
All right, good morning. Welcome to Newton Insider. I think it's like episode 15 or 16 for us, which is super exciting. I'm here with Valerie Wastcoat, David Gordon, and Emily Van Giezen. And Emily actually just joined Coldbanker Newton recently, and she specializes in selling on the Cape Cod. So even though we're Coldbanker Newton, we cover a wide range of locations, Boston, Newton, Needham, Wellesley, and now we've expanded to the Cape. So welcome everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Today we're talking about new construction. It's a huge topic. We've seen a lot of new construction sold in the last few years, and I feel like now there's just a lot of things buyers and sellers should be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
I have this great panel and we're going to discuss buying and selling new construction. So we're going to start with buying. A lot of things to cover. So we'll just go around and talk about what buyers should think about when making a decision and moving forward with buying new construction. Emily, what do you think?
I think that when buyers are looking for new construction, that they should really look at the details of the home and whether the builder has put thought into quality finishes, any details. I know something we sort of talked about pre-recording was, anything from, say maybe, heated floors, and this is based on your price range too. So, whether are you in the $1 million range, are you $3 million plus, because you're going to find different
expectations.
There's going to be yes, it's going to be constructed differently. So do your expectations match what the builder has to offer?
Yep. David, and what about you?
It's really about the details. When you're taking a look at things, you need to, is it before the shovel's put in the ground? And having all the specs laid out. People don't realize, especially from the buyer agent standpoint, the details that have to be included, and that runs the gamut. It can be having the specific size of the rooms, not just the sketch, the type of flooring, the type of molding.
Dimmers or no dimmers?
Correct. Right down to even the landscaping outside. People don't think of, or landscaping allowance. People don't think about the small details. You really need to have everything buttoned up in advance in moving forward with the builder.
All right, so Val, in terms of when you're writing an offer for new construction, how would you protect your buyer? I still love that question.
Well, it's an easy answer, because bottom line is that one of the most important things you want to have in there is subject to builder completing a punch list from the buyer, because that becomes all-inclusive. It doesn't matter if it's the inspection, the radon, something that may have been left out in the details. If that wording is in the purchase and sale, and yes, and in the offer, but the other thing is making sure that the wording, that an attorney doesn't play with the wording, because we write things a certain way at times to cover our buyers, and then they look to put their standard wording in. You have to communicate that this wording is there because of this. And
when you write an offer, timing would be essential.
Right, because you need a contingency plan. Typically with new construction, it always goes over when they think they're gonna have the house ready. So you do need some kind of plan for that.
And then you would have, subject to specs. In fact, you really, if the home is being sold pre-construction, you can't sign a purchase and sale agreement without having the specs.
Right. You need to know what's going in you need to know the flooring, everything.
doorknobs.
The doorknobs, right. Light fixtures, everything needs to be detailed.
And some of the smallest
And
things,
allowances.
some of the smallest things people miss that drive them crazy, door stops.
Oh my God,
What is
so
happening
true.
with, the
That's so
bathroom
true.
fixtures? What are the allowances? Is the builder gonna put them in? Or is that left, gee, you have no toilet paper holders or, towel holders in your bathroom?
That's a big question that I get is, will the builder be finishing this?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and so I think that falls under that punch list. But it's a really common question because there are little just odds and ends that haven't been completed, and so
So,
I mean, the whole experience can be terrible or incredible. And a lot of that comes down to if you're working with an experienced buyer agent through the process that knows how to set the expectations, the questions to ask, the issues that may arise, and things to address well in advance so that everybody's on the same page. And that's all you want. You want both sides being on the same page.
and I think and what we're discussing really is a buying a house on spec versus doing a custom build, because when you have a custom build, I mean, you're working directly with the builder versus something that's already in progress that's being offered.
right.
Right, and sometimes you can tailor it to your needs.
Oh,
at the
absolutely,
time.
absolutely.
Well, and that's a decision, like when we talk about selling new construction, that's a decision the builder has to make. Do I
Right.
want to sell it pre-construction and offer customizations, because that's ultimately what ends up happening? Or am I going to complete this project, stage it, and then present it, you know?
And the builders work two different ways. Some will entertain that, which we recently just had a transaction, that entailed that it could have been a little customization. Well, in the end, it ended up being a custom build, kind of within the footprint, but everything changed around. But that can also slow the time frame.
Yes, very important.
Substantially.
Customizations, delays, especially now with the supply chain issues.
Yes. Oh.
Absolutely, that's gonna slow things down and delay it. So buyers have to be really aware of that. So in terms of going back to the offer though.
Yes.
We need to make it contingent upon a certificate of occupancy, right? Because
of
you don't
course.
wanna close if there's no certificate of
can't.
occupancy. You can't if you have financing. You could.
If
Oh,
it's
if it's
cash.
cash. If it's
Right?
cash.
Now, speaking of financing, you need to be, as a buyer and talking to the mortgage broker and the buyer's agent, you also need to make sure that you know how long you can lock in your
I
rate.
know, that's another one that can
Right?
jump, especially
Right.
right now.
So really understanding that, because I have seen, and I don't always agree with it, buyers are pressed because their rate is going up.
Right.
And they close after the certificate of occupancy, but before the home is completed. And then it becomes this like race
Battle.
and battle, really, to complete the house to the expectation of the buyer.
Right.
So that's where the holdback comes into place and all these other things. So, I mean, for me, if I had it my way,
Right.
I would rather the home completely done and have a minimal punch list and then close. What do you guys think?
No, I agree. I think it depends on the buyer's circumstance, and I wouldn't want them to be under that pressure of having to close before it's completed. I think that is not ideal.
Yeah.
But sometimes,
There are some great builders out there that really you can take what they say at face value.
Right. 100%.
But
Of course,
I will
yes.
say this, it is a very small pool of builders that
Yeah.
you truly can say that you can take
Yeah.
what they say.
well, it's part of the research, I guess, that you would do in the beginning is to know who the builder is, know what other builds they've done, and how people felt that live in their properties.
I love that. I've had actually buyers reach out to past clients of builders to find out how they were after they moved in.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah,
everyone gets a warranty, that's another
Right.
thing.
With one client that we just closed with, we went to a couple of the people's houses to
Oh,
see,
wow.
they let us in,
Right.
even during COVID, to come
Wow.
take a look and
Oh, that's
be able to
awesome.
look at the detail and look what was done.
Oh, that's really nice.
Which gave us a lot of confidence. And it was more about being there not only during the process to facilitate getting what they wanted,
Yeah.
but afterwards, few months down, if there was an issue, how responsive were they? Did they even return a phone call?
Yeah, no, it's
Right.
true. All right, so let's go around really quick. One advice for buyers when thinking about buying new construction. Emily.
My advice for buyers would be do your research and work with a reputable real estate broker.
David.
Yeah, working with an agent who has experience in new construction. That's going to be the key, because otherwise the details will not be taken care of through the process and everybody will be unhappy in the end.
Yep, I agree. It's who you work with matters.
Yeah. And I think that's gonna matter on all the sides. Starts with an agent, a loan officer,
Yes.
a good attorney, and obviously a reputable builder.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good team. All right, so we're gonna switch gears now, and we're gonna talk about selling new construction,
I
okay?
have done.
Yes. So why don't we start with Val? Where do you think if someone, there were a lot of builders, I feel like they came out of COVID that said, you know what, especially in our market,
Right.
a lot of people want new construction. There's also older homes being sold that
Right.
need to be torn down, and a regular buyer doesn't want to take that on. So if I'm a builder and I decided I want to sell new construction, what do you think I should be thinking about?
As a builder,
Yeah.
you need to think about location. You mean before you purchase
Yeah,
the
before
house?
and then selling
Okay.
new construction.
I
Yeah.
think location is key. I think knowing your audience, knowing who you're building for is important for them. That way you know, like in Newton, for example, you can go all high end and, you'll get that sold and you'll probably get your money back plus. And I just think it's important to have like the reputation. I think it's a small town as much as of it is a city. It is really small and people get to know who the builders are. So if they have a good reputation and they have good quality work, and I think showcasing that in your listing is going to be key. Like knowing the floors, knowing the the counters and it's just knowing all the little details of the house and portraying that to the buyers is huge.
Agreed.
There are two things that a builder has to take a look at, I think, when building a project, whether it's here in Newton or anywhere else. One is their ejection price. If they have to get out of the project tomorrow for some reason, can they get out whole? And then secondly, are they going to sell the property before it's complete? Because it truly, in my mind, it's either you're marketing it well before and buyers don't have vision, or once all the floors are done and someone can just walk in and it's turnkey for them.
Well, don't you think that during COVID, that sort of, they could sell it before?
During COVID, yes. I think
Yes.
now we're getting away from that.
Right,
I
and
do
now we're
believe
back to
that-
normal.
Yeah, I think a regular person has a hard time imagining,
Right.
and even honestly myself, like we've had a few listings that I know the builder is reputable. I know it's gonna be beautiful. Until I see it done,
Yes.
I can't picture it. Like,
Right.
I know because I have the trust, but I think if you are just a regular buyer coming in off the street, unless you are fully, unless you've seen, I guess if you have the right specs and you've seen all the finishes, and maybe that's another thing the builder should do, is if it is being sold pre-construction, and even if you're giving allowances, et cetera,
Yep.
you should be able to send the buyers to wherever you're getting your cabinetry from, your
Yes.
tile from.
Yes.
Because then
They can-
the buyer can see it and like really.
And it's
experience.
having the renditions of what is going to be there, especially with some of the key rooms. Even a lot of agents have difficulty figuring out the space and perspective of how things are going to look. And those visual, renditions,
Yeah, the renderings, right.
the renderings can overcome a lot of the challenges in the process.
Agreed.
We just saw that with drone homes.
Yes, I mean,
That was amazing.
Now there's so much, I remember, like selling new construction, even
Yep.
5-10 years ago, like doing a rendering was a whole big production. It's not anymore. If you have the plans, we have good resources that can do that. Emily, what do you think about?
Okay, so I have a few things.
Yes.
One is about the marketing. The marketing is absolutely essential. Who is representing your property? That is, I think, one of the most important pieces in selling, because it's not just about the build. Like, yes, those details are important, but how will people know what you offer, or what's special about the property, especially as you climb higher in the price range.
Right.
People like things that are special. So what's special? What's the story? What is going to pull on someone that would make them want to purchase? And then something you can always count on me for is that deeper dive into those analytics. So as a builder, the market is always shifting. So something that, in all the finance folks I've been speaking to recently and listening to their podcast, they've been talking about household formations, because and the trends shifting around post-pandemic. people are living differently. You know, it's never going to go back to what it was. So
That's true.
staying relevant in terms of what new household formations will look like, and what that type of demand, because people are living differently. So if you are still planning your, you know, projects around the way people were living and not the way
Right.
people are planning to live, it's really important to just keep that forward thinking and stay relevant with the research and what you're providing.
That was just in the magazine, sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
Was it really?
I have seen, you know, we just had one project where instead of the large open space on the third floor or a room or two, they changed the design to put in skylights. They put a couple of offices in, and the other space being a bedroom. Basically
Right.
taking it so that
So
that
you can work from home.
walk from home, you're leaving the living space to be able to work out of, and they still have a beautiful basement,
Right.
which you expect in homes.
Lower level.
For-
David. Lower
Yes,
level.
level.
Yes,
Lower level.
the lower levels, again, you know, it depends what price point you're
Yeah.
selling. And it is, but using the correct terminology,
Right.
depending
Yeah.
upon your price point,
Right.
is so important. And it's also communication and responsiveness.
Yeah.
You know, whoever a builder's working with, that agent needs to have all the details, all the specs, be able to communicate appropriately, know when to defer questions,
Agreed.
Yes.
and facilitate the communication between the parties.
Yeah. And to Emily's point, actually, I think a lot of builders, or maybe not as many anymore, love, you know, we all have our own preferences, our own taste,
Yeah.
but it doesn't necessarily align with what's in trend right now and what appeals to the general public. So I think as much as it is a work of art, you know, every builder is super proud of their work, I think you really have to be aware of what is in trend and also what's gonna appeal.
Right.
Like too many finishes for me is a no.
Right.
Like keep it, you know, neutral, keep it consistent.
Especially with the price of new construction these
Right.
days. Historically, you can go back years and you can almost tell when someone who didn't have any design sense,
Right.
Yeah.
who probably couldn't match their tie to their shirt, is
Yeah.
making the choice with colors, cabinets, granite, in the house.
Yeah.
You need to spend a little bit of the money, which you'll get the return on investment, to get things that are relevant to today's buyers.
Yeah, agreed. And so, I mean, in terms of, you know, for builders selling their homes, you make a decision whether you're gonna be selling it pre-construction or if you're going to complete it, stage it, photograph it, and sell it like a regular house, right? But either way, that's where the marketing specialists come into play. You need a website, you need to name a project,
Yes.
you need to start lead gen right away.
Yes.
And for agents to have the bio, the references for the builder, you know,
Right.
that's also just super,
All that
super-
marketing
Yeah,
ahead of time
And-
is gonna help.
And understanding where the buyers are coming from, because
Yeah.
it's very rare that they're
Absolutely.
coming locally. I mean, it does happen. Many times, the
Relocation,
buyer,
yeah.
it's relocation, it can be someone
the
moving
city.
from the city who's looking
Yeah.
for the space.
Yeah.
You can't say, oh, my buyer is X
Right.
anymore.
Right.
It's,
Yeah.
you
No,
just don't know.
And I mean, look, I think this is a great time to be a builder. I know that the costs are expensive.
Right.
I know that the chain of supply, although from what I'm reading, is improving. But the reality is, we're busy, right?
Oh, yes.
People are busy. They don't want to build their own houses,
And they do like new construction.
and they like new
Yeah.
construction. So I think you've done correctly.
Yeah.
Right.
And all of it is going to tie to what we're talking about when people are looking to buy. Is
Right.
builders' reputation,
Right.
the way we market things. I mean, if you have a good formula, you just can do it over and over again.
I mean, I think about my own house. Do I want to do the work to make it what I want, or do I want to just buy something new
Right.
that's already done? And there's something very appealing about that right now.
I can help you with that.
And people are willing to pay premium, so,
Right.
I mean, who doesn't love the smell of fresh paint
I
and
know,
floors?
choosing
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
I always say I love the smell of new construction.
I know, me too. I mean, I think we all do,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, and to
but-
your point, Marcia, it's new construction is big right now, especially the market I service on Cape Cod. Our inventory is extremely low, record low, but the demand is still there. You know, we have folks that are backed up that have wanted to buy for years since the pandemic, and the inventory is just, it's not there. So they're looking for creative ways to find what works for them, and sometimes that might be renovating a home. Or just buying completely new build. But either way, there's still not enough right now. So definitely a great time to be a builder.
Thank you so much. It's been such a fun morning discussing new construction, something we all love. And we'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.